Test, test.
This conference will now be recorded. This conference is no longer being recorded. This conference will now be recorded.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Good evening, Council. I'd like to call to order this special City Council meeting for Monday, March 30, 2026 at 7:04 p.m. There is a the full council is present. There is a required quorum. If you'd bow your heads with me, I'll offer a short invocation and then stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you, Father in heaven, for your many blessings. We pray that you watch over and protect our troops and our allies in the Middle East. Watch over and guide our government, our federal, our state, our county, and our city. In Jesus' name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Item 3, citizen participation and comments. Do we have any speakers?
Yes, we do. We have in-person speakers, and we received a few emails as well.
All right. Do we have, are they for this section or for the items?
This section.
This section? Mm-hmm. All right. Who's our first speaker?
Sheila Moore.
Miss Moore.
Hello, and thank you for having me here. I'm here on behalf of the Ashmore Farms HOA. Just to keep this very brief, but we are interested in putting in a barrier arm, 2-arm gate into the housing area in the back entrance. So that's going to be off of Lane and Blue Mound Road West to eliminate traffic coming in, cutting through trucks, as well as cement mixers, 18-wheelers, and the speed of them cutting through to eliminate some of that into the neighborhood. This has been an ongoing issue for the HOA for many, many years, and we are in the process right now of getting about 5 bids, and we would just like to, I just want everybody to know that that's...
Very good.
Thank you.
Ms. Moore,
Thank
what was
you.
your address, Ms. Moore?
212 Arbor Lane.
Thank you.
What's our next speaker?
Carol Clark.
Miss Clark.
Carol Clark, 117 Schreiber Drive. Greetings, City Council members and Mayor. I want to briefly mention a few things tonight. First, reference the 16 March 2026 City Council meeting. At the 1 hour and 33-minute mark, Councilman Carruthers asked the Mayor why a shorter bridge agenda item was not on that meeting's agenda. Mayor Halsey responded 2 times that it was premature. Councilman Carruthers further stated that the Mayor legally had no right to remove the agenda item. Mayor Halsey retorted, saying that it was detrimental. I understand that the Mayor no longer has control over the agenda, which should prevent this from happening in the future. However, I believe the Mayor still needs to be held accountable for his action, or in this case, his purposeful inaction. It's a shame that the council's time has to be wasted by holding this special hearing just to move forward on agenda item 4A. But please know that we appreciate your perseverance in making the shorter bridge finally a reality. Secondly, I understand that Mr. Ashton's office space is very small, and I think that's unacceptable. Mr. Ashton is in charge of running our city, and his office space should be commensurate with his duties and responsibilities. Therefore, I'd like the council to consider relocating the mayor into the city's office space near the Froth Coffee Shop, or even into the Haslet Library. This move would alleviate the constant tension and disruption the mayor is causing, and it would be more in line with elected officials who have satellite offices. However, if the mayor must stay in City Hall space, then I suggest his office space be reduced significantly and Mr. Ashton's space increased substantially to reflect the transfer of duties and responsibilities from the mayor to Mr. Ashton. Thirdly, thank you for agenda item 4C. I understand city employees were notified about a month ago when Mr. Ashton started work that he was now their supervisor in lieu of the mayor. However, sometimes it unfortunately takes a physical organizational chart to bring the message home. Fourthly, thank you for agenda item 4F, connection of Haslet Parkway to FM 156. It's such a shame that forward movement on our roads, something that most Haslet citizens and residents of nearby communities need, has required so much effort and time from our city council. Hopefully the expansion of 156 through Haslet can progress forward soon also. Lastly, I want to congratulate Councilman James Watkins for getting the endorsement of Tarrant County Commissioner Manny Rodriguez for his re-election campaign. That's quite an accomplishment, and it illustrates why we need him to stay in office. Again, we appreciate you, council members, for all that you do for us.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Do we have another speaker?
Yes, Kitty Wirtz.
Ms. Wirtz.
Hello, City Council and Mayor Halsey. I'm Kitty Wirtz. I reside at 205 Thistle Drive. I would like to thank everyone sitting on the council tonight for your continued hard work and diligence in pushing forward for success for Haslet's much needed and long overdue road improvements. Agenda item 4A and 4F, which are authorizing the city administrator to negotiate an advance funding agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation for design and construction of the Haslet Parkway to Highway 156 to build and tie in to the small bridge over the railroad tracks and connect with Avondale Haslet. Haslet and the surrounding communities are extremely grateful for these actions that we are finally going to start moving forward on the road work. Our mayor has delayed these efforts for so long, and it is now over for him with these decisions being made tonight. The grant request has failed. Thank you, council, for doing the hard work you have done with our surrounding transportation partners. We move forward now. Another action I'm grateful for that the mayor will not be in charge of setting up the agenda going forward. The responsibility now resides with Mr. Ashton, our city administrator. The mayor tried to control the message with leaving off the agenda items he did not agree with. That is the reason this special meeting was called tonight. The mayor's manipulations are no more. I'm in favor of item 4B, which will allow voices to be heard, whether they are written letters or presentations on topics. This is a fundamental right of citizens to be able to speak out when their elected leaders are not listening and following their requested desires. When a leader goes rogue, like our Mayor Halsey has done, this is how the citizens can regain control of the situation. I'm also in favor of item 4C, which is the organizational chart for the city of Haslet. You will notice Haslet citizens are at the top of the chart. This is for good reason and should not ever be forgotten. Items 4D and 4F are needed actions to correct our budget and file it properly because our mayor refused to do his job back in October when it was due. He did not submit our budget to the state, and we are possibly in violation of state law. This has to be corrected. Please, council, follow through with the work you need to do in the absence of the mayor's actions. Item 4G, please do not reconsider this agenda item as it's long been settled. And it is a waste of time that the mayor has added this item back into tonight's business. Having a city administrator will greatly improve Haslet's business actions. As I have already stated, the mayor is refusing to do his job the citizens of Haslet desires. This is why the mayor was removed from being the chief administrator of the city. Lastly, I would like to congratulate Councilman James Watkins on your endorsement from Tarrant County Commissioner Manny Ramirez. Mr. Watkins received this support today when he met with the commissioner about the road improvement work for Haslet. Mr. Ramirez stated he gives full support for re-election to the City Council Place 3 to James Watkins, as he is very happy with the progress of this council and has been able to make and wants to see them finish the job they have started. This is a great statement to Mr. Watkins and the whole council sitting before us. This is a night to celebrate. Thank you all.
Thank you, Ms. Wertz. Do we have another speaker?
Yes, Laura Schlotteroff.
Ms. Slaughterhoff.
Laura Schlotteroff, 1195 Wildson Way. Winging it tonight. I just have a suggestion to hopefully standardize some of the things that you all get, staff gets. So on Facebook, someone noticed that there was a light out or a light timing issue. I was looking on the website trying to find if there was a centralized place to put these things. I know in the past the mayor has said, call me. I think there needs to be a more accountable, transparent process for this. And so I was just suggesting maybe having a form. Fort Worth has an app, but we're Haslet, so, we'll do what we can do. And so I'm just asking that you make that, making a suggestion to implement something that would help citizens report things in a timely fashion and that can be followed up on. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Slaughterhoff. Do we have another speaker?
Joette Keaton.
Ms. Keene.
Joette Keene, 1410 Poppy Drive, Haslet, Texas. I don't think I'll get any applause after I speak, and that's okay. But I want to thank Mr. Gilbert for his agenda item 4B, because it actually called my attention to documentation. And I'm going to read this: the principles of proper conduct, keeping promises, being dependable, building a solid reputation, participating and being available, demonstrating patience, showing empathy, holding on to ethical principles under stress, listening attentively, studying thoroughly, keeping integrity intact, overcoming discouragement, going above and beyond time and again. Those are proper conduct. I agree with all of those. I think they're really important. Proper conduct is not showing antagonism or hostility, deliberately lying or misleading, speaking recklessly, bullying, spreading rumors, stirring up bad feelings or divisiveness, acting in a self-righteous manner. I want to call your attention, public who listens to this meeting after the fact. Witness Councilmember Watkins' behavior at the beginning of the meeting when he spoke out of turn, as he often does. Witness Mr. Watkins' behavior when the person from Ashmore Farms was speaking, as he was on his cell phone. I come to these council meetings. I watch what's going on. I am going to encourage Commissioner Ramirez to watch some of the council meetings from last year, from this year, and then ask him who he endorses. I also want to call your attention to some of the proper conduct, which is listening attentively. Because I have also witnessed, because I come to all of these meetings, that doesn't necessarily always happen either. Because I hear questions asked, I hear accusations made as Mr. Carruthers accused me one time, and I know you apologized, but it was because you were not listening. Because sometimes I really believe this council has their agenda already planned, and you're not paying attention to other things that are being said. I have seen bullying, antagonistic remarks. I listen to the things that get said that are half-truths by people who come to this podium. And I really believe that people sitting up there are feeding that kind of behavior to individuals. And I think it's highly irresponsible that several of you are on, and I've said this before, on a private website that does not allow any other comments by citizens to be heard. I think it's highly controversial and irresponsible. And if you want to talk about principles of conduct, think about what you're doing and how it appears to other citizens who may listen to this, even though I won't get any applause. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Keene. Do we have another speaker?
Michael Morris.
Mr. Morris.
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, Mr. Administrator, my name is Michael Morris. I'm the Director of Transportation at the North Central Texas Council of Governments. I'm the Staff Director to the Regional Transportation Council, and I'm here today to hopefully move forward with east-west construction of a path forward to advance as quickly as possible a bridge structure over the Burlington Northern Santa Fe. Specifically to your agenda, I applaud your 4A. I'm not sure that's exactly the instrument we need, so I will lay out and probably the best way to advance the small bridge. But approving 4A in this form isn't comprehensive enough for the RTC to deliver all of the transportation needs we need to do on this particular project. I do applaud 4F. You approve 4F because that's one of the ingredients, several, we're going to need to advance particular quarter. From the citizens today, you're at some crossroads with regard to the best way to move forward. I'm not going to ask you to reestablish a baseline situation. I am going to ask you to reestablish a baseline situation when it comes to Haslet Parkway and a grade separation over the Burlington Northern Santa Fe. My suggestion, and the fastest way for us to move forward, is to advance a recommendation from the Rail District, from TxDOT. You recently competed. You did not win in the state competition. The Rail District is recommending to our office and to you to submit for a CRISI grant to continue to explore the Long Bridge strategy. I'm going to assign Jeff Neal for my staff to assist whoever you assign that particular application, because you have both the Heartland Flyer on the Burlington Northern Santa Fe, and you obviously are at the entrance of the intermodal facility. Those are two ingredients to that particular program. I want to take the lead on the short bridge, be a liaison between you and TxDOT to advance the short bridge strategy. My policy committee has funded the short bridge, but we also won the original bill grant. The original bill grant did intermodal. It came down west on Haslet Parkway and stopped. The item I need, instead of 4A, is in addition to the AFA agreement, I need a comprehensive inventory of absolutely everything necessary to complete the Haslet Parkway to wherever we left off on the bill grant, west, in this particular case with the short bridge, over the Burlington Northern Santa Fe, so I can go back to the Regional Transportation Council with one final action on A, all the necessary elements you need, and B, the funding support to accomplish that. We already have funding for the grade separation. I don't know exactly what's left on the build grant that has to go over. Concerns were raised on the punch list. When that project finished, that punch list may or may not be current. This AFA agreement, I know, is not current. So getting that punch list reviewed and me bringing back from TxDOT everything they need in order to complete this process, in my mind, would be a better substitute than your 4A that you have in front of you today. I applaud the effort, it's just not comprehensive enough for what I need. I've talked to David today. I think he would like our office to be actively involved with them in the pursuit of the short bridge. And Jeff Neal and my staff, who won the build grant, is very capable to win another grant and pursue the long bridge at the same time. I think, this may be bold, I think we should come up and communicate to all the residents of the city in a joint press release between our office and the city that communicates we are advancing either the long bridge through the Chrissy Grant program or we're advancing the short bridge, but we are not waiting any longer for the implementation of this program. And when we do the short bridge, there will be a comprehensive review telling the citizens of the community everything that was committed to you with the previous build grant that was unfinished is going to be honored in the construction heading west. So I believe the fastest way to move ahead, instead of debating the merits of the short bridge and the merits of the long bridge, is simply to advance both. At some point in time, funding and knowledge and advancement and capability will be known. At that point, we'll know which horse to ride at that particular point, but we wouldn't be losing any additional time. Our office will take the lead working with whoever we're assigned to advance the short bridge and help do that comprehensive review and make sure everything TxDOT needs, whatever that is, design plans, punch lists, review. Our office will be, me personally will be involved in that. Jeff Neal will work with whoever's assigned for the Chrissy grant, honoring TxDOT Rail Division's interest to see if that can be pursued as well. Then some item in the future, I would love to be able to get us all on the same page with an integrated partnership with a joint press release communicating to the public we are moving ahead with east-west mobility. My board is very interested in getting a grade separation on Parkway near the shadow of the intermodal facility. Mr. Mayor, thank you for letting me speak today. I can't take questions, so this is different than my own board. Mayor, thank you very much for letting me speak today.
Thank you, Mr. Morris. Thank you for coming out. That's a long drive. I know it is. Do we have another speaker?
Not in person. The rest were emails that were received.
So you have, first off, do we have anybody online?
No one online.
All right, you have some to read?
Yes, we do. So we received 3, but 1 has withdrawn their request. So we have 2 remaining. The first is Glenn Hazelwood, 13,200 Charlotte Ann Lane. In reading through the agenda for tonight's special council, I saw that the mayor submitted a letter in opposition to agenda item 4G. How utterly ironic that the mayor cites sections of the local government code in opposition, yet he cannot even follow Haslet's own city code of ordinance.
Excuse me. Can you a little stronger?
Can't get much louder. Prior to March 16, 2026, the Haslet City Code of Ordinances, Article 1.03001A, specifically stated that a member of the City Council is entitled to have a minimum of 1 item listed on the agenda for each meeting of the City Council. One would think that after 2 formal rebukes by the Council for not complying with that code, the mayor would have taken the necessary action to correctly discharge official duties. However, this does not seem to be the case. On March 4th, 2026, Councilman Carruthers requested an item related to the Haslet Parkway Advanced Funding Agreement and the bridge designed by TxDOT on Avondale Haslet be added to the City Council meeting agenda for March 16th, 2026. Timing of this request was well within the requirements of the Haslet City Code of Ordinances, Article 1.03.001B, which states that requests be made at least 10 days prior to the date of the meeting. The failure to include Councilman Carruthers' item caused an unnecessary special meeting. This meeting is wasting valuable time and resources, all because the mayor could not follow the clear and explicit Haslet City Code. The mayor uses the phrase clearly states when citing local government code in his opposition. How hypocritical. He only wants to cite codes, regulations, and statutes only when it suits his own agenda, not the greater needs of the community. To me, the repeated opposition to the city hiring the city administrator reeks of desperation. The city and surrounding communities need leadership that wants to make Haslet a thriving community, not one intentionally cut off from its neighboring by closing access on Main Street, by designing a bridge that bypasses the only north-south thoroughfare through the city, preventing the completion of Haslet Parkway by purposely withholding plans and opposing expansion of F56. To me, it seems like the mayor wants to hold on to power so he can continue to act against the best interest of the city and surrounding communities. Since the mayor likes to quote local government code to suit his agenda, here is some Texas local government code to quote. Chapter 21, Section 025, titled General Grounds for Removal, which applies to general law municipalities, states an officer may be removed from office for incompetency, official misconduct, or intoxication on or off duty caused or alcoholic beverage. Section 022 of that same chapter defines incompetency as gross ignorance of official duties, gross carelessness in the discharge of official duties, or inability or unfitness to promptly and properly discharge official duties because of a serious mental or physical defect that did not exist at the time of the officer's election. I do not know the mind of the mayor, so I cannot say if the continued failure to adhere to the Haslet Code of Ordinance, wasting of the city resources, or acting against the best interests of the community is ignorance, carelessness, or a mental defect. But it begs at least two questions. If the mayor is so willing to ignore a simple city ordinance, what ordinances, statutes, or codes has he ignored? And two, how much more of the city's resources has been wasted? Finally, while I'm not a Haslet resident, I am affected by the actions and inactions of the city. I want to say thank you to the council members who act in the best interests of the city and not their own, and to the city employees who worked hard for Haslet. Your efforts are appreciated. And lastly, it's from Chris Holsey, 2003, Highway 156. Council, I would like to address the organizational chart that you're voting on this evening. How quaint that you should put the Haslet citizens at the top of your chart. Your actual actions do not reflect listening to the citizens of Haslet. This chart is a good campaign tool, but does not reflect the reality of the actions you have taken in the city of Haslet government. Instead, there should be 5 boxes across the top of the page with your names written in them. Directly below that should be a box for the city administrator. That is designed for the city of Haslet government that you have created. The mayor that box for the mayor is somewhere in the lines below. Your description for the duties of the mayor are ceremonial. You, council, with the guidance of our city attorney, haven't on paper removed the duly elected top official of the city of Haslet. This organizational chart should not be approved because it is nowhere near the reality of the changes to our government that you have made. And that's all we've received.
That's all the speakers?
Yes, sir.
All right then. And again, I will check if there's anybody online.
No one online wishing to speak.
All right. Anybody in the chambers?
Yes, sir. I forgot to hand her my sheet. Sandra Smith, 300 Gamble Street. I'm here tonight to address briefly Mr. Horak. In the March 16th meeting, while y'all were going over your staff reports, he called Sergeant LeMunyon forward. What I felt like was to refute something I had said at a previous council meeting about criminality, drug deals in the park. So I'm just going to briefly say by the next council meeting, I'm going to have the data for you. It seems like you intentionally try to refute, dismiss, discredit anything I say. So in the future when I come forward, for those of you who think you figured out my character already, I don't know how you've done that because you don't know me. but I'll be prepared for you, Mr. Horak.
Thank you, Ms. Smith. All right, then. There's no other speakers in the chambers or online or emails that were sent. Then I'll close this part of it. This citizen participation and comments. We'll go on to 4 public hearings, ordinances, resolution, and action items. 4A, discuss, consider, and act authorizing city administrator to negotiate an advance funding agreement with the Texas Department of Transportation for design and construction of the Haslet Parkway extension on grade to Highway 156 and building the small bridge grade separation over the railroad tracks on Avondale Haslet Road to John Day Road. Who is doing this presentation?
That is my request, sir. This is my request, sir.
Very
Gonna
good.
be on here. We have been talking about small bridge versus large bridge versus all kinds of things like that. And I'm deeply grateful that Mr. Mike Morris is here this evening. Mr. Morris, might we ask you a few questions about this again? Because now we can ask you questions.
Thank you. For the record, Michael Morris, Transportation Director for the Regional Transportation Council.
Thank you, sir. I understand that the original AFA for this project was several years ago, and so is probably not up to the standard that it needs to be at this point. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay. So based on your presentation a little while ago, you said that this is probably not the correct step for us tonight to do this?
Yeah, I applaud your efforts, but I believe you need a more comprehensive position from the council.
Okay.
It will be whatever AFA is needed. There may be design plans that need to be turned over. There'll be a list of unimproved projects that are needed, unrelated to just the short bridge.
Yes, sir.
But you don't want to do the short bridge and then miss whatever we didn't get to when the original bill grant terminated wherever it terminated on Haslet Parkway. I'm a big believer that we live by the words we say. We promised to Haslet a completed Haslet Parkway with a grade separation, either a short or a long bridge. If it's the long bridge, then there's components in that section that's unfinished that would be done in a different way, right? Because that bridge is longer.
Right.
So you would have a to-do list for the long bridge and a to-do list for the short bridge. Since I'm laser focused on advancing both bridges at the same time, and the short bridge is funded, if I could get a resolution from whatever the legal instrument is for the city, I'm observing some history here. Whatever the legal instrument is that permits us to advance the short bridge while the long bridge is being pursued as requested by the Rail Division, as comprehensive as possible, so all commitments to the citizens that were originally made are made, that is the action I need. There could be an AFA component that's probably updated. There may be turning over of plans or other things that are needed that TxDOT has. There may be the punch list that's left over from the project. That would be an action item. I don't know if you need to do the AFA update in one item and then the other comprehensive things in a different action item. I'll leave it up to you. What is that form? But I would like to go back to the RTC one final time and make sure all the money is in hand to meet all of the needs that we're committed to in the project.
Mayor Halsey, can I say one thing, please, sir?
Yes, please.
Mr. Morris, again, thank you for your time and coming over to speak in person for our meeting. We truly appreciate that, sir. In your prior speech, in the general comments, you had mentioned a great idea, in my opinion. It seems like a way that keeps a lot of misinformation and things from happening is this council tonight potentially designating an individual to work directly with you to get everything that we need from a detailed perspective for this AFA. In my idea, that would be something that we would assign to our new city administrator, Mr. Joe Ashton, so that way he can work directly with you without any interference and get you any details and city document that you might need. And we can always make sure Mr. Page can give him whatever authority that we need to legally to make sure he has access to any and all files to do that. Because if we can give you a single point of contact with this city, sir, to move along the small bridge while the mayor is still chasing his pipe dream of the big one, would be great for the citizens of this city, sir. And we would truly, truly appreciate that, because everybody is tired of waiting for the big, beautiful bridge. It's not going to happen. But we have, like you, as you said many times, the bridge is funded, sir. And we have something in our hand where we can chase something else that's not in our hand. I'm one that's for the citizens and have to drive the traffic an hour to get to the school that's 2 miles away from my house is not something that I or anybody else in the city wants to deal with anymore, sir, or worry about some agenda pushing bridge that is some godforsaken reason why it's still being pushed. But not to get distracted from this, sir, you know, would we be able to do something along those lines to where that would give the ease for you and your office to be able to make this a streamlined process for the city of Haslet?
So the answer to your question is yes, a single point of contact would be helpful. What also would be helpful is, and you're not asking me my opinion on this, we need to move forward on both bridges, and we don't need to refer to one bridge as, quote, a pipe dream or something. For me to advance whatever, both sides have to have an equal ability to move forward. Or what you're going to do is you're going to waste another year debating the merits of a particular bridge, and we're not going to move forward. So I need to move forward. This bridge, every year that's not being constructed, is going to cost the RTC more money in inflation. The best path forward is a respectful tone that advances both of these concepts simultaneously. And I do this for a living. We've built a lot of projects. I've done this before. The right solution is going to easily materialize before construction begins. It just is going to happen. Someone is either going to win a home run on a $80 or $100 million grant, or they're not. But in the meantime, we're going to need to advance an agreement that is comprehensive in nature, so I can make sure I'm meeting all of the needs of the community of Haslet, those in the original bill grant that are unfinished, and in this case, the short grant moving forward. But the tone of the process has to be, in my opinion, we are respectfully moving forward with both ideas. Both ideas have merit. The right solution will proceed. Your concern is one was proceeding at the expense of the other. We can't have one proceeding at the expense of the other. So in my opinion, the best way to move forward is just simply advance them. They're in different paths. One is seeking revenue. One has revenue, is seeking engineering. My comment respectfully is just simply advance them. The cream floats to the top, and we will be building a bridge as quickly as we possibly can.
Thank you, sir. I truly appreciate that. One follow-up question, if you don't mind. If you could, what is the driving force behind the big bridge and pursuing that grant?
It's an idea that came from the rail division. So here's the rail division saying, to our region, you did not win any, our region did not win any of the bridges in the off-system program. The state, in a very imaginative fashion, held back revenues to use in a different program, not the Chrissy grant program, in order to try to leverage some projects from our region with state revenues that they held back as a way to leverage 4-to-1 in federal revenues. It took us some time to determine if this bridge was included in the federal application. It wasn't, but the recommendation back to the rail division was, in my opinion, you should submit this in a Chrissy grant program. So the best way I've gotten so far, all parties to advance the short bridge, is to also advance the long bridge.
Yes,
so the best way to do it is to advance both of those particular projects. The long bridge still has access to 156, maybe a better design in gaining access to 156 on the grade separation, maybe has higher benefits because it has more grade separations, has a much higher cost which you would then trade off on your benefit cost ratio if it's worth it. But that's what the CRISIA program would measure those benefits for.
Thank you, sir. And just for clarity, if you wouldn't mind putting it into layman's terms, just so everybody can truly understand, what is the rail division? Because you're saying the rail division is pushing this, which that's a term that I've heard for the first time tonight, so I don't know exactly what that...
I wouldn't use the word pushing. The rail division is a part of
not
Texas.
push, the force that's moving the big bridge forward is what I mean by that.
The rail division is a component, a division. When you hear the word division in TxDOT, that's a functional office of TxDOT statewide. So they focus on rail. You have a bridge division. You have a maintenance division. Whenever you hear a division, it's a statewide function. When you hear in TxDOT a district, it's an area. So David is your district engineer in the Fort Worth district. Season is your district engineer in the Dallas district. The rail division is a statewide office whose expertise is on railroad operations, both on the passenger rail and on the freight rail side. For them to make a recommendation, sorry you lost out, the rail division was responsible for scoring these particular projects. If I were in your shoes, Dallas-Fort Worth region, I would submit this as part of the CRISI grant program.
Okay. And for clarity, when it comes to the division of the railroad, where does BNSF play into that, considering they are the predominant railroad company in this area? You know, I've spoke with French from BNSF as well, French Thompson, and got his take on it from BNSF side of the big bridge to the little bridge, and you know they're kind of they're as most people are, as yourself is, you know, give us a solution. Small bridge, big bridge, as long as you get traffic moving, I think people at this point don't really care, and I'm with you on that. If we need to push both along to make one work for the other, then that's what we'll do, you know, from that standpoint. But you know, from BNSF's perspective, you know, did the state, obviously when it comes to the rails, you know, they're the biggest ones, that proponents that are using the rails. What does BNSF say on the rails? Did they have any influence in speaking to the state in this division? Did the state consult them, considering that they're the rails, the ones that are like running this area?
No, I
just
think
from like an overall.
I think it's a much more generic conversation. Hey, Dallas-Fort Worth, you didn't win any bridges. Hey, we submitted bridges in a different program. This bridge wasn't submitted in that different program. Are you aware of this particular program? I don't think it's a conversation with Burlington Northern or Santa Fe. Burlington Northern or Santa Fe probably wishes their trains weren't blocking east-west Haslet Parkway.
They do.
They were very instrumental in helping gain support for the original grade separation. I think they would applaud, like Switzerland, any grade separation where they're not the criticism for the east-west movement. You got police and fire that can't get across, in school districts that can't get across this particular item. My point is, as a public sector employee, we cannot wait any longer.
Amen.
So for me to be able to advance that, I respectfully request us to advance both paths, and that path will determine what is the best future.
Mr. Morris, may I ask?
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
What was the original grade separation plan? You mentioned that just now.
The short
The
bridge,
very first version was what?
the bridge touches on the westbound right-of-way line of 156 at grade, crosses the Burlington Northern Santa Fe Railroad. We work very closely with Burlington Northern Santa Fe's rail tracks to jiggle them as far west as we possibly could, so the clearance over the railroad bridge is minimized to get to grade as quickly as possible to 156.
And that was the...
So I've used the term short bridge to be different than a bridge that crosses over 156. It has two other sister bridges that still get you to 156.
Right. So that was the bridge that came out of the negotiation that was at the meeting at Laterra Grill back in 2021. Is that correct?
I don't know exactly where it is,
There was
but we probably had
That was one.
your commissioner who was state rep
And the superintendent.
led the conversation with the superintendent.
Yes, sir.
Brought to our office, would you find more money? We're in the middle of implementing the original bill grant. So it was a very complicated question to ask the feds because the original bill grant was crossing at grade. We went back with a whole bunch of time and effort to get the federal government to agree that our proposal at 100% our cost would not contradict the legal elements of the build grant that was originally proposed, because it's value added.
And when you say
That
our
took-
cost, you mean the North Texas Council of Governments?
Yeah, the RTC's cost.
Yes, sir.
Additional federal funds to build the grade separation. When you win a federal grant, it is very sophisticated, the local shares, and if you don't maintain those local shares, you can easily have to pay the money back to the feds. So we had to spend a lot of time to make sure we were not going to get critiqued for adding more federal RTC money to build the grade separation and contradict that grant. The way we got around that is to truncate the build grant sooner. All the federal funds in the build grant were spent, but the RTC committed to take up the build grant at grade until we got to that grade separation.
Which is why you say that it's fully funded, because RTC is committed to.
As a staff person, I can't speak for the RTC, but as a staff person, we had a build grant that had at grade. The RTC funded a grade separation. The perspective of the citizen of Haslet should be, we are going to request you to honor your commitments. I'm here to say we're going to honor our commitments. That's why the item before you today isn't comprehensive enough for me to meet my legal obligations of honoring all those commitments.
And is there any of that funding that is under risk of being lost because of how long it's been? Okay.
The build grant, we had to make sure the build grant closed out on time, which is why it was cut short. But the good news is it was finished. The RTC's money is not at risk.
And that build grant was what built the first part of Haslet Parkway?
Intermodal widening down to Haslet Parkway to wherever it stopped.
Okay. So sorry, I keep asking you a bunch of questions, but I just want to make sure we all are on the same page and we all have the same information. Included in my 4A was to do the construction of Haslet Parkway extension, which is Haslet Parkway over there all the way to 156, and then also build a bridge. I actually put it both in mine. Haslet Parkway extension from where it is now to 156 is 60% designed, is my understanding from TxDOT, which means it's buildable now. Is that correct?
I have no idea. I don't know. I'm willing to put myself into this particular situation. God helps me why.
We're very thankful that you are.
In order to make sure, I'm going to start now in Fort Worth.
Yeah.
The Fort Worth bond program line on the west side of the grade separation.
Right. At the S curve.
Our meet has been moved to the west.
Okay.
Because of the grade separation lands on their bond program.
Okay.
So the grade separation starts at their bond program meet line.
Right.
And we had a meeting 2 weeks ago talking about all the projects in this part of the county. Grade separation goes over. It is intended to meet the ADA rules of a 6% grade. Get to at grade at 156. That still has to be designed. You come across that particular intersection and you go over all the way at grade to wherever the build grant stopped.
Right.
I would like to build that as one big job, or if the other flat work can proceed now, I don't mind entering a conversation with TxDOT to see if we can do it in 2 phases. But I want to honor all the commitments that were made from the original build grant and the new grade separation.
I appreciate that. What I'm struggling, me personally, to wrap my head around is if we continue to try to advance both versions of the possible bridge, if we start building the at grade, that would go where the longer bridge would go as well.
That's right. So
I'm not sure how to juxtapose that.
Well, you worry about that at that particular point in time.
Okay.
So when you make a decision to do the at grade portion, you would need an answer back on the other project, right?
Yep.
So you sequence, you do a critical path on the 2 items, and you make sure you don't have any throwaway projects. So you need an answer on path 2 in order to advance path 1.
Okay.
But we do that for a living. So
okay.
I'm not sure each of these paths have to take a long time.
Okay. Because the faster the better as far as everyone around here is concerned. We realize there's a process, but we want to see it go forward. Jeremy, can we, since this isn't comprehensive enough for Mr. Morris, but it's on the agenda, can we word it in such a way that it satisfies what Mr. Morris needs tonight?
Can we ask a few more questions?
Okay, sorry. Yeah,
Doug, you want to ask one, then I'll ask one, or?
Well, two parts, Mr. Page and Mr. Morris here. One, because earlier on you mentioned, you need some sort of legal response from the city on which way we want to proceed. So it sounds like, Mr. Page, we need to come up, with a resolution from the city saying, North Central Texas Council of Government, TxDOT, here's a resolution we want to proceed with, option A. But you need that. And I'll leave that to Mr. Page to work out. And then you mentioned something with the punch list that needs to be filled out. And I would say anything you need along those lines, if you could direct it to Mr. Ashton, and work out what does the city need to provide to you to kick this off. We need to get going. 'Cause I'm here to tell you as a council member, that I want to tell North Central Texas Council of Governments, TxDOT, Tarrant County, and Hillwood, we are open for business when it comes to road work. We need help, and we need help from anybody we can get. We don't just make sure you completely understand that we're not here, we're done with roadblocks. We need to get projects going. 156 is staring us in the face, and that's second. But we've got to get all these roadways going, and we need as much help from you as we can possibly get.
So if you're asking, the best way to move forward is to advance both procedures. I have a staff person dedicated for one procedure. I'm willing to take the lead with the TxDOT elements in order to expedite that, because your relationship with TxDOT, I guess, isn't as strong as it needs to be to really advance the project. So I'm going to intervene on that to make sure those items are identified and needed. I believe you will have and I can develop this, a path forward on each of these particular approaches. You advance both particular items. You've got to be careful that if you advance this item and you don't say something about the other item, I may lose 6 months of some public debate on the merits of this item compared to the other item. So to neutralize that, you as policy officials are saying, we're advancing these two items. We'll be happy to keep you up to date on when the drop date is, on when something has to happen that actually affects the critical path. I don't think we're anywhere close to that. I think you'll get an answer on which way we can proceed in a reasonable amount of time. And then you'll know which horse to ride at that point, and you wouldn't have lost 6 months or 8 months of time because we had advanced in a collegial fashion the dual approach. I'm more than happy to work with whoever you assign me to, but TxDOT has 4 tables of information that they need some feedback on, so they understand exactly what they're being asked to do as part of this particular project. Remember, this is not on state system. TxDOT is building this at our request.
Yes. And we appreciate that very much.
Because they build bridges, a lot more bridges than our office does. And I got to provide some sort of insulation, or they're signing up for something that said, well, why are we signing up to be talked about when it's not even on their system? Now, 156, of course, is on their system. But right now, the critical path needs to be the east-west facility.
Yes. I said, Mr. Ashton, do you have Mr. Morris's contact information? And Mr. Morris, do you have Mr. Ashton's contact information? I think that's our key point of contact, and we need both projects. Whatever we can do to fast-track anything. I know, there's a vested interest, even on 156, between, your organization, TxDOT, and Hillwood in particular. We need, and both of these projects are intertwined. It's like I said, you've got.
Yeah, 156 has its own history, but if you start integrating, and remember, we're also building direct connections for the smart port. We want $100 million for the smart port. So I got to make sure I don't lose direct connections on the smart port because of some issue that's occurring over here. So I got $100 million at risk connecting direct connections up intermodal, so I can get all the trucks moved to the north and keep them off your Haslet Parkway. So I got $100 million at risk on intermodal. So having some collegial path forward lets me work with TxDOT to get the direct connectors built, has a path forward to advance the grade separation, and however you wish me to work with, whoever you want me to work with, I'm more than happy to do it, to start advancing the short bridge, while my colleague who works for me works on the grant application, honoring the Rail Division's request funding on the bridge.
I'm going to make a suggestion at this point in time. I would ask the council that you just make a motion to that express it, or just to advance the short bridge and the long bridge, taking the dual path. And then Mr. Page can draft us a resolution. So that would be a formal letter to North Central Texas Council of Governments.
Nope.
That expresses that same desire. So that would be a formal letter. There is, with regard to, I know that COG has the detailed punch list. TxDOT does have to go through and confirm if they have addressed any of it or not. That will take care of that punch list. But there is much more inventory of project completion that I know that your office has to do. And that would be probably in conjunction with Kimley Horn, the project engineer, as well as with TxDOT. So there's much work to do with regard to that, as far as having that detailed look that your office needs to go to RTC to get whatever other funds are needed to finish the project. So that's wherein lies to make some progress this evening, is that what I would suggest that the council make a motion and vote on advancing both short bridge and long bridge, and then we follow up with a resolution, that's a formal expression, to North Central Texas governments. So what's your thought on that, Mr. Morse? Would that fulfill a need?
I think if you could add and develop a contact to advance the details necessary for the short bridge, that I think would state the tone of what it is you're trying to do. It would meet my need of trying to create a less political environment to move transportation forward in your recommendation, Mayor, of advancing both projects. And then I think it would meet the spirit of this particular item by assigning an individual of how I can expedite TxDOT's needs and your needs in a more detailed inventory that would come back as whatever legal instrument you would need.
Mayor Halsey.
Mr.
I had just a few questions, not very many. Is TxDOT, they would still be the implementing agency?
Yes.
And Kimley Horn would still be the engineer of record?
I can't speak for TxDOT.
Sure, okay. And then one thing that I've heard from citizens, I just wanted to clarify, is that the smaller bridge might have a 3-year time span versus the larger bridge, 8 to 9. Can you speak to that? Something about the possible NEPA process causing it to be longer?
I think the shorter bridge would be shorter. I'm not convinced those timeframes are right.
Okay.
If my contact would ask me a question like that, I'm more than happy to pursue it so it doesn't turn into part of the political drama of all of this.
Thank you.
But I'm more than happy to answer it analytically.
When you mentioned David, you're talking about Mr. Salazar?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
Mr. Morris. You mentioned a while ago about finishing off Haslet Parkway to 156 and this small bridge or whatever at the same time. I think a lot of citizens around here would love to finish off Haslet Parkway to 156 while the big bridge is being designed, do that separately, because I think that would relieve a lot of pressure, off Blue Mound and Westport having 3 deals open, 3 roads open. And then my next
I think speaking positively to that comment, I think that speaks to why you want to expedite the list.
Yes.
In order to expedite that particular construction. And it also speaks to that then creates a critical path of determining when the Long Bridge can and can't continue, because you don't want any throwaway projects on that particular program. And as I said earlier, I'm more than happy to do that. I'm entering back into the fray. I don't know exactly where the design is on the remaining part. I believe TxDOT's still waiting on some design things from the city. I think you'll see in our request. But I'm not dismissing you couldn't advance the Haslet Parkway in advance of the short bridge grade separation.
You mentioned a while ago about this Chrissy grant that we're pursuing again, or pursuing. If we don't get this grant, we're going to be, 0 for 3. Can we just shut this over and this thing be dead?
I think if the Chrissy grant isn't funded, you move on with the short bridge.
So if that happens within a couple of months from now, or is that you think that we might know in a couple of months that we didn't get it, and we can just be done with it? And
Jeff Neal is on my staff's working on it. I believe the call for projects opens quickly, like soon in the next 6 weeks, I'm guessing. Don't quote me on that. The federal government will take some time to see who wins, maybe late summer.
Oh, wow.
Don't quote me on that either. But that helps establish the critical path on when you can advance the improvements to the at-grade section on Haslet Parkway.
so if the small bridge gets going and it gets going fast, can we pursue that, or do we have to wait until
I don't think you'll be far enough on the short bridge. I think you'll have an answer from the federal government on who wins the Chrissy grant long before the short bridge is ready to go to construction.
But not Haslet Parkway at grade, possibly.
And then if there's interest in the at-grade parkway advancing faster, that's probably a thing you should communicate, so I can look into that.
Yes, please.
That's what 4F is.
Yeah, that's what 4F is what I asked to be put on there, because I agree that
For tonight.
that has to,
That's part of the to-do list that I'm asking
you have
for.
a long list.
You see what I mean?
Yes,
And then
sir.
once I know all those things, then you can establish the mechanism on how do you establish when in the short and the long bridge issues get resolved. But today, we need to establish some foundational element to be able to move forward, so I don't get a complicated $100 million smart port at risk that's in your city, and I'm able to advance expediting the short bridge at the same time we're expediting revenue for the Chrissy grant.
Okay.
Remember, TxDOT division is suggesting a pot of money. District is probably ready to advance a different path. And the last thing you want to do is to get two parts of TxDOT in a different situation, because we still need the bridge division to weigh in on our direct connectors that we're building up to the intermodal facility.
Can I ask you one more question? Yeah. And it's actually a little off subject, but kind of on subject. Part of the grant process that we recently went through for the large bridge, for us, I understand that the Tarrant County Commissioner's Office also wrote a grant proposal for a bridge over the railroad tracks on the Blue Mountain Road, east-west, and also was not approved as well. Is there any way that we as a city can put together a coalition to expand Blue Mountain someday? Because that is a road that is off-system, but we don't have the resources to do it on our own.
The answer is yes.
Okay.
I think everything has order.
Yes.
I don't think that's the first thing
It's
you
not.
need me working on.
But we have to look 10 years down the road, right?
Well, you don't have to wait 10 years. We can have a conversation about this in September.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
But it takes 10 years.
Yeah.
So is everyone ready for me to make a proposal?
If you have a
Good.
motion to make, please
I have a motion to make.
make one.
I make a motion that the city of Haslet authorize the city administrator to be the single point of contact for Mr. Mike Morris and work with NCT-COG to provide Mr. Morris with all the information that he needs in order to expedite the small bridge, while Mr. Morris's office also works on the long bridge option at the same time. Does that satisfy everything, Mr. Morris?
Yes.
Jeremy? Everybody up here?
Motion is made, okay. Motion is made to designate Mr. Ashton as point of contact for the North Central Texas Council of Governments with regard to the short bridge, and also apply for the long bridge as well. Is that correct? That captures your motion?
Yes, as he suggested that we pursue
Yes.
both projects.
All right. Is there a second?
And you also mentioned to provide the documents requested
All
with the punch
information
list
and
and the
documents
funding
needed
support.
to Mr. Morris's office from Joe Ashton.
I'll second that.
All right. To include all documents needed to Mr. Morris's office. There is a second. Who seconded that?
I'll second that. Oh, okay, sorry.
All right. There is a second. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Thank you, Mr. Morris.
Item 4B, well, first off, council, may we take just a short break, 5 minutes? Thank you. So I recess the open session at 8:10 p.m. We can be back in 5 minutes. I would like to convene the open session at 8:16 p.m. All members of the council are present. Let's go to item 4B, discuss and act on resolution 2026 amending the City of Haslet Council Relations Policy to require all emails submitted to the city regarding agenda items be read into record during all city boards, commissions, and city council meetings, and also establish a standard public comment time limit of 3 minutes per speaker. Whose item is that? Please, go ahead.
I brought this agenda item up just because I know sometimes when we have, if somebody's writing a letter, I want them to be able to read their whole letter, but when somebody comes up there speaking rogue, we've had 10-minute long speakers. And I know that just takes a long time when we have a lot of speakers that speak. Mr. Page, could you, I know you have some stuff on this, could you help me out?
So this has been a topic that the council has been discussing for a few months now, if not longer. Councilmember Gilbert, his request for tonight's agenda item was kind of the launch point, at least, for a couple of different things to add to our current policy. And so the first item I'll bring up is our council relation policy. This is a document that's already been, a previous version was adopted about a decade ago. It governs various different topics as to how the council should act with one another, city staff, boards and commissions. But within that, there is a specific part about council relations with the citizens, which really deals with not just the council's relations with the citizens, but also the protocol for citizens when addressing the council at our meetings. And so the red lines for this, the changes would be on page 36 of the agenda packet, if you're able to scroll to that. And essentially, in addition to adding a couple of Councilmember Gilbert's suggestions about the 3-minute limit, which was already actually in the policy itself. This also made a few different updates just to reflect state law. And again, this is page 36 in the agenda packet. It's going to be the red line version. There we go. Yeah, and so there's a few pages down from that. There we go. And so the public hearing protocol has been moved into a different area. If you keep scrolling down a bit, you can kind of see the procedures for that. And again, this tonight, I guess if y'all absolutely love it, you could just approve it as is. You could approve it with certain amendments, or you could simply, but I think the purpose of this was to kind of a launch point so y'all could discuss what you guys would want, what further changes maybe you would like to see, and we could bring this back at a future meeting for final approval. The other document that's with regards to this topic is our public meeting appearance card. Obviously, we have one of those in place right now. It's what everybody here who spoke today filled out. This is something that the mayor actually sent to me a couple months ago to look at, to work on, to make sure that it's updated with most recent changes to state law and public speaking. And then this also just clarifies and updates, makes the same updates as what's being proposed in our council relations policy. So again, 3 minutes. We would have citizen participation and comment. Whether it's a citizen participation comment or a public hearing, the limit would be 3 minutes. In addition, we would allow for emails to be read by our city secretary. However, there would be a 3-minute cap on that as well. And so pretty much you would have 3 minutes regardless of how you speak or present your comments, whether you are here in person or whether you are submitting it via email. And so that's really the most substantive change, so just that it reflects that fact.
Mayor Halsey, I had one question. So if someone has reached their 3-minute mark, will they be just kind of told to, that's it, wrap it up, or what's the procedure moving forward? I don't know. Of course, I was going to ask you, I know I looked at Justin's, and it's very similar to this, but in Denton, was there pretty similar type of
we would probably
procedure,
have,
protocol?
I would suggest what I've seen is like you have 60 seconds left, a card is held up.
A card, okay.
And then 30 seconds, and at 3 minutes, we call
turn the mic off. So is
Well,
that-
your time is up.
Right. Is that similar to what you've seen where you've worked?
I've seen people with timers and then their mic was cut off, yes.
3 minutes is pretty standard.
I mean, I did some research too, and I've seen 2 minutes, I've seen 5 minutes. Standard is 3 minutes.
3 minutes is standard from the many cities I've visited and seen. That is a standard protocol.
One other thing I guess I wanted to just touch on. So anybody can come up and speak during the citizen comment on any item, whether it's on the agenda or it's not. Then people in the past have talked on any item. Now are we just kind of restricting that to public hearings only?
Correct, and that's technically what our council relations policy states as is. I understand that practice has, it doesn't always follow strictly the actual procedures in place. But if we were to, again, adopt these, the request, the suggestion would be to strictly follow them as much as possible. And that would, as you mentioned, require that if you have a comment on any item other than a public hearing, you'll need to speak on it at the beginning of the meeting.
And also, this applies not just to council, but to all boards, commissions, everything in the city, correct? Okay.
Yes.
And one other, I looked, but I thought I saw it, but now I don't see it. Is it limited to only citizens of Haslet, or does it have our neighboring people? Does it?
So for the actual public comment and for the in-person public comment and the in-person public hearings, there's no distinction between residents or non-residents. I think under the law, it doesn't. I think it requires you to allow for both.
Yeah, that's what's concerned with, like the First Amendment, if we're even able to do that. So it doesn't say.
But how I have this in the policy, again, this can be subject to change if I get direction otherwise from you, that we'll only read emails from residents of Haslet, because there's no right under state law for someone to have an email read into the record at a public meeting. Again, if you want all emails to be read, it's just for me to limit abuse or to limit the potential, efficiency of the meeting, right. To limit all emails at least. And so if you're a non-resident and you want to speak on an item, you would just need to be present here to speak on it.
So let me I ask a question? So that implies that the email would have to have their address cited so that it can be verified they're in the city limits of Haslet, Texas.
So no, I was going to say the exact same thing. So no address does not get read because we wouldn't be able to verify that.
And so on the public meeting appearance card, the requirement that they speak their address has been removed. And so we wouldn't, we would probably verify, this might be something that we'll need to discuss more on. We would want to verify beforehand whether or not the email writer, the drafter of the email, is a resident, but we would just say, okay, this is a resident of Haslet without necessarily stating their address for the public record, if that makes sense. We would verify it before the meeting.
It does. I would think that it would need to be on the email as well, their address, if they're coming and speaking it at the meeting.
There are probably 12 times more people with a 76052 Haslet address than there are actual citizens in Haslet. That's the issue. Without an address, you don't know.
And so if we are requiring residency for email comments, then they will have to provide some sort of proof of that residency, whatever that looks like, sufficient for us to confirm that. And also another change, this is something that I added in, it can be subject to direction from council, is that email comments have to be received by noon the day of the meeting.
I like that
so that we're not scrambling or that Crystal specifically,
it's not scrambling. Right, that's, I think
right before the meeting,
great.
Or 6:59, right at the meeting.
That's right, yeah. And now the other question I was going to ask was, is it better to be more restrictive and say emails only by citizens of Haslet, or to be less restrictive and then change that? Which one is easier to or can either way be changed if we move forward and see that it?
Legally,
is
it doesn't
amended?
make a difference
Okay.
to me. That would probably be maybe a question for Joe or Crystal or other staff members that would be responsible for compiling that information.
What are y'all's thoughts on the emails?
I'll go first, and then I'll defer to Crystal, who will have the right answer. The only problem, not really a problem, but the only thing I would say, if we're going to, if y'all are going to limit it to the 3 minutes, I do think that it could become a headache for staff, and specifically Crystal, to be the sort of the traffic cop for, do you live in Haslet? And then they say yes, and then I think it might put staff in a difficult position if we're already limiting it to the 3 minutes. But I will certainly defer to Crystal, since she's primarily going to be the person that's in that position.
Because then she'd have to tell people, no, that you don't live in Haslet, right? And then they get mad, and then, yes, I do, and all that, right?
Yes, sir. That would be my only concern with that portion of it.
I will say that Haslet is one of the very few cities that allows emails to be read. In other cities I work for, it's unheard of. I did do some research before coming here tonight, and out of the 20 cities, because I use the same comparator cities that we were using for the comp study, out of the 20, only one other city allows emails to be read.
What city was that?
Trophy Club. The other cities, they limit it to, majority limit to 3 minutes. 3 of them have a 5-minute limit. One city allows 2 minutes. And they actually also cap the public comment section to 30 minutes as a whole. And then one city does allow speakers to send somebody in their place if they're not allowed to if they're not able to come. But the majority of them, like I said, it's in person only. And the only other city that allows emails to be read is Trophy Club. And that's it.
I'm kind of, I agree with the emails, not to be read, like, some of these other cities, but I also think if you have something you need to say, but you aren't able to come in for a work issue or health reason, but you want your concern to be read, I think that is good to have these read, but, I'm kind of kind of torn on the situation on that.
I'm wondering if just trying the 3 minutes per speaker and per email would be a good start, and then if we feel it's still maybe a lot, we could always go back and say, and add some more restrictions to it.
I think that seems reasonable.
I just hate to limit someone's, voice, but.
Well, the other thing is we're in a different world now, and not everybody's always physically able to be everywhere all the time. And I think if we don't read emails, and I know it's unheard of, but I'm worried that would cut too many people out of the process of local government, and we would rather have more people involved rather than less, in my opinion.
Well, let's take a common sense approach to this. I mean, look at this. Let's not create a solution for something that's not even a problem yet, right? That's kind of what we're doing. We're creating a solution to prevent something, where in actuality, I think the most emails that we've ever requested to be read is maybe 8. So if we hold that to a 3-minute limit, that's at most 24 minutes of people that he's writing. In the technological age we're in, they don't necessarily always want to come show up in person. They don't always have the ability to speak in front of people, which is very terrifying to some people, to be able to speak in front of a crowd. So, I mean, if you aren't able to get up there and you can't do that, then we should still be able to honor people and let them do it. Now, I agree with y'all. If it becomes an issue where we're getting 30 emails a night at a council meeting that we need to read, then, okay, we can address it and we can address what needs to be done at that point. But
Well, I like your idea at some point maybe of limiting the number of emails.
Correct.
So
But
that's.
until it's a problem,
that's
let's
a
not
problem.
make a solution for something that's not a problem yet.
I think you also, if you limit it to only city residents, I think that'll cut down the emails too, because we've had a lot that have been non-city residents.
But they're saying that now that's time on staff to verify your address, send an email saying that you're just not going to be read, here's why. That's an additional step that adds to that.
True, but again, we've only had a few emails that actually have been requested to be read at any point in time. So if you think about it, so I mean, we really haven't had a egregious amount of emails being sent in or being requested to be, voiced for the people
I feel like we've had a lot.
overall.
Yeah.
But like on a meeting per meeting basis.
But if they were just limited to 3 minutes, it would be
Correct, it'd be even
faster.
shorter, yeah.
All right, I'll make a motion to approve Resolution XXX 2026, excuse me, amending the City of Haslet Council Relations Policy to require all emails submitted to the city regarding agenda items be read into the record during all city boards, commissions, and city council meetings, and also establishing a standard public comment time limit of 3 minutes per speaker, with the one change of still allowing emails that are not residents at this time.
Clarify that last statement.
With the change of still allowing emails that are not, that may be residents and non-residents at this time.
So make no distinction upon residency.
Correct.
And do you know what section that is in this so we can cite that?
Top of page 37, section 2, the final paragraph of section 2 that starts with, in lieu of speaking, a resident of the city of Haslet may submit a written comment to the city. And so it would just be, in lieu of speaking, a citizen may submit written comments.
So it's section 2.
Section 2 of council relations with the citizen, yes.
Of council relations.
With the citizens.
Okay, the motion is made to approve Resolution XXX 2026, amending the City of Haslet Council Relations Policy to require all emails submitted to the city regarding agenda items to be read into the record during all city boards, commissions, and city council meetings, and also establishing a standard public comment time limit of 3 minutes per speaker, and amending section 2 of the council relation policies that no distinction among residency is made. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I'll second that.
There is a second. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Item 4C, discuss, consider, and act on Resolution XXX 2026 adopting an amended organizational chart. Whose item is this?
This was mine, and it's just presented as a resolution and the chart as attached. Okay, I'll make a motion to discuss, consider, and act on resolution, or sorry, to make a motion to adopt Resolution XXX 2026, amended organizational chart as presented.
Motion is made to adopt or approve Resolution XXX 2026 adopting an amended organizational chart. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I'll second that.
There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. Thank you. 4D, discuss, consider, and act on Ordinance XXX 2026 to ratifying various amendments to the city's budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending on September 30, 2026. Ms. Lamb, I assume that's you?
Yes, Mayor and Council, the exhibit attached to the proposed ordinance represents all of the items that Council took some type of action on, either passed a motion or a resolution or had some kind of action at a previous meeting. However, since the budget has been determined, it needs to be amended by an ordinance. This ordinance is presented this evening to amend the budget to include all of these items.
All right, they look correct to me. So I'll make a motion to approve ordinance XXX 2026, ratifying various amendments to the city's budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2025 and ending on September 30th, 2026.
Motion is made to approve ordinance XXX 2026 to ratifying various amendments to the city's budget for the fiscal year beginning October 1, 2025 and ending September 30, 2026. Is there a second?
Yes, Mayor, I'll second that.
It is seconded. All in favor? Unanimous. Motion passes.
Thank you, Marcy.
4E, review the posting status of the fiscal year 2025-2026 budget. If the fiscal year 2025-2026 city budget has not been posted, discuss, consider, and act on Resolution XXX 2026 to authorize the city administrator to post the budget, along with all pertinent budget amendments, to include filing the budget with the Office of the Municipal Clerk, filing the budget with the Tarrant County Clerk, and filing the budget on the city's website. The budget should have any and all amendments to the budget ordinance included. Ms. Lamb.
With the amendments that you made earlier and an additional amendment that you made a couple of weeks ago, there is a document prepared that includes all those amendments, and it is ready to be filed.
Are we in discussion?
In discussion, you make a motion to approve it.
Okay, usually you ask for in discussion, so I just wanted to ask. Didn't want to be out of line. So, all right, so the questions are, Mayor. So originally I'd posted a while back to ask you the questions, and then back on March 3rd, Mr. Ashton sent an email. So first question is, has our 2025-2026 budget been filed with the Office of the Municipal Clerk?
Yes.
It has been.
The proposed budget, but since then, Marcy, or Ms. Lamb and I have gone through a considerable amount of time, and for every month thereafter, except for 1 month, and there may have been 1 month gap, there are always 2 or 3 changes that the council brought to that budget until today.
So the proposed budget that we had
Was in constant revision.
Start the year was posted with the Office of the Municipal Clerk.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Was the 2025-2026 budget filed with the Tarrant County Clerk?
No, sir.
Like, was the 2025-2026 budget of the City of Haslet filed on the city's website?
No, sir.
Now, the
Budget
proposed,
officer, I would like, is there a reason you did not post the budgets to the Tarrant County Clerk or to the city's website?
the, was not the proposed budget on the website? Yes, so it was.
The proposed is, but not the adopted, correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
But there's not been an adopted budget. So that's what you're doing tonight.
No, I think we adopted a budget back in October. Now, we make amendments throughout the year, but we did adopt a budget. Is that not a correct
Well,
statement?
now there were votes taken, but to be adopted, it has to be by ordinance, and that was never accomplished.
Why wasn't the council presenting an ordinance to adopt the budget?
It was in constant change.
So just
It's
to,
in constant change throughout the year, budget officer. I mean,
Say it again?
we should have an ordinance at the beginning of the fiscal year for an adopted budget. Be it
Yes,
an
we
ordinance.
should.
That is in the agenda packet, ordinance number 014-2025. It was adopting the budget for fiscal year 25-26.
All right, so
When
it was
was that?
adopted via an ordinance. So budget officer, that's you. So we did have an ordinance, according to our attorney. Is that a correct statement?
What ordinance is that you're speaking of, Jeremy?
Ordinance 014-2025, it was initially approved on the 18th of August, and then it was reconsidered and approved again on the 15th of September.
and then it was also reconsidered and approved again on October 6th. It was item 7G.
Okay, so.
Well, yes, and we've had multiple revisions.
The council, the city should have multiple revisions throughout the year. That's the way a city budget works, as things change as you go on. But when we start a budget year, it needs to be adopted via ordinance, which it was, as Mr. Page pointed out, on September 15th, and it should be posted right then. And then it can change weekly if that's what's needed. So we had an ordinance, and you failed to adopt the budget and post it where it was legally supposed to be posted on the Tarrant County Clerk site and on the city's website. Is that
I don't
true?
believe there was a failure. Ms. Lamb, do you have that timeline with you?
The timeline that they're talking about is correct. We did adopt a budget on the 18th. It was reconsidered twice, and it still passed. And there was a request to put it on the website. That never happened, never got filed with the county. Yes, the council has made attempts to amend the budget in the meantime, but the adopted budget was never filed.
Thank you, Marcia. And you are the Director of Finance, correct?
Yes, sir.
One of the titles you were.
No.
And Mayor, you're the budget officer of the city of Haslet, correct?
Yes.
And so you're over the total budget of the city of Haslet. That's
Yes.
one of your responsibilities.
Yes.
And so even though we had an ordinance, you failed to post the adopted budget where it was legally mandated to post.
Excuse me, I have a question. That ordinance included the $1.5 million in it? So that was, that included that, and I knew that the council was revising things to further narrow that down, and we knew there were revisions coming.
It doesn't matter if we knew what was coming or not. We had an ordinance that adopted a budget. At that time, it should have been posted next day. The day after, we could have changes to the budget. We could add or remove. That's the business of ongoing business with the city. You chose not to post. That was your choosing. You're the budget officer. You're in charge of that.
Well, I did not make any of that decision in a vacuum. So, do you have a motion to make your?
Well, Mayor Halsey, but, sorry. You quite frequently like to remind us that you're the chief budget officer of the city, sir. So as the chief financial officer of this municipality, sir, the sole responsibility for filing our counting stuff with the city and the county and everybody else is your responsibility, sir. So, and do you have a valid reason for why you're denying the city the budget to be posted as it should be legally? That is, you know, the city administrator has sent multiple emails requesting that we are not in compliance with the state of Texas and the laws of our municipality, and he is stressing and urging you with the most respect I've ever seen in an email, for the way you treat him, at least, that is, to why you have not filed the budget for the city. And you, yes, you're to the 1.5 million, you're right. Yes, we did approve that. But then if you remember a couple months ago, we also made a budget amendment and we took that back out of it. So again, sir, in those 2 months, you would have had plenty of time to file this, and you still are choosing not to. You're choosing not to. Like, we're not glazing over this. We're not glassing over this. We're not going to let you just skate away from this. Why are you not filing the budget of the city with the county as you should be? What's your excuse? Please give us an honest answer for once in your life.
The one, we're not in violation of the state. There is no date stated when a budget with the county clerk has to be filed. Number two is I don't have that section of the local government code with regard to that budget process. It is spelled out. Do you have that, Mr. Page? Can you pull that up?
Yes, not digitally, I have it print off. This is Chapter 102 of the Local Government Code, Section 102.008. It says, on final approval of the budget by the governing body of the municipality, the governing body shall, 1, file the budget with the municipal clerk, and 2, if the municipality maintains an internet website, take action to ensure that a copy of the budget, including the cover page, is posted on the website.
Let me interrupt you right there, just right there. It says the governing body, it doesn't say the budget officer.
So that, well, let me finish that. So that's 102.08 about posting the approved budget. 102.009D, it says after the adoption of the budget or a budget amendment, the budget officer shall provide for the filing of a true copy of the approved budget or amendment in the office of the county clerk of the county in which the municipality is located.
So you constantly tell us you're the budget officer.
Of the approved budget.
So you constantly tell us you're the budget officer, and now when push comes to shove, you're trying to blame it on us?
No. I mean, the governing body as a whole, city council and the mayor are part of that process.
You constantly tell us you are the budget officer. You are in charge of the budget. It's yours. You're the only person. And now when push comes to shove and you haven't filed it on time, now you're saying it's all of our responsibility.
No idea what you're doing.
In part, yes.
Okay, well then I'm glad we brought it to the special meeting. Will we get an updated binder? I know at your convenience, Marcia, what the adopted budget is. Okay, thank you.
So it's the city council's fault that we have not filed this budget? You said it's our fault because we're part of the governing body?
The timeline, if we had a copy of that timeline, we could better explain it. You can apply any of the fault to me that you desire. Go right ahead. And what's your objective here? You want to approve this amendment here?
Our objective is for you to do your job and post the budget to the county and to the website like it should be. That's what our objective is, sir.
And it understood. Very good.
Yeah. Well, just, and it just, even back on March 11th, so you've had 2 emails asking to do this. The last one from Mr. Ashton points out that, failing to do this could open us up to the state controllers to look at this as a red flag that could put the city in an instance of being audited by the controller's office and their personnel.
Well,
I mean,
I would hope that the state controller would review this In fact, I have reached out to the state controller.
We've discussed.
So-
We've discussed your mannerisms before. Would you let a council member complete their speech before you interrupt?
Sure, please.
Thank you very much. Can you turn your, never mind. So, in relations to this, and with the budget not being posted, what I'm concerned about, are there things in our budget that maybe we're unaware of? Now, I trust Marcy keeps excellent records. That's the one thing I think the city has going for us. We have an excellent director of finance working for us. But on instances like this, we're literally halfway through the year. Should we just literally, on our own, contact state controller and have them come do an audit of our budget?
That would be good.
It's, before, we just throw up red flags. So I think, maybe that's an item we look at, in a future agenda to see if that's something we need to do.
A better
But in the
avenue,
meantime, I will like to make a motion that, based on the budget officer's failure to post the adopted budget, that we approve Resolution XXX-2026, authorize the city administrator to post a budget along with all pertinent budget amendments to include filing the budget with the Office of the Municipal Clerk, filing the budget with the Tarrant County Clerk, and filing the budget on the city's website. This budget should have any and all amendments to the budget ordinance included.
Motion is made to approve Resolution XXX 2026. To authorize the city administrator to post the budget along with all pertinent budget amendments to include filing of the budget with the Office of the Municipal Clerk, filing the budget with the Tarrant County Clerk, and filing the budget on the city's website. The budget should have any and all amendments to the budget ordinance included. Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I'll second.
There's a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous. 4F, discuss, consider, and act on directing the city engineer to work with Kimley Horn to provide completed plans that will connect Haslet Parkway to FM 156, and directing the city engineer to coordinate with TxDOT for any remaining items needed to complete Haslet Parkway. Did you have this one on here?
No, sir.
This was me. I originally brought it to our November 10th, 2025 meeting, and we discussed it and talked about it at that point, but we were all on the same page that Haslet Parkway was going to be kind of put on hold while the larger grant or larger bridge grant was being discussed. So I wanted to put it back on here, and I'm really glad Mr. Morris came and spoke today, because I think expediting or telling TxDOT and COG that we want to get Haslet Parkway's plans moving forward, it would be a huge relief for our citizens and get some east-west relief, yes. And so this is the exact same item that I put on, like I said, in November, and I would like to direct staff to, or Mr. Anderson and Belchuff and Associates, to continue talking with Kimley Horn, see what is left of the plans that need to be finished, and coordinate any of the remaining items, kind of like you were talking about with the punch list, to get Haslet Parkway going. So direct staff, direct to Mr. Ashton to kind of coordinate that, and if we can get Haslet Parkway completed, that'll be good.
So
for
would you
our
read,
citizens.
was that a motion?
No, I'm just talking.
Oh, okay.
I'm just giving the kind of the presentation, and it hasn't changed from, like I said, the first time I brought it up. It's the same documents. I don't know if you want to pull up the designs so people can see what they were. The designs that were sent to the, let me go back to my other notes. They were the designs that were sent to the city on July 16th of 2024 by Kimley Horn. They called them rescoped, which is how, kind of like Mr. Morse was saying, you got around the build project not being completely finished the way it was supposed to, but In September 2023, they spent the $20 million, they fulfilled the build agreement, and then TxDOT moved forward with Kimley Horn to revise Station 69 to Avondale Haslet. So that's what is in front of everybody now. Oh, is Mr. Anderson here? If he would like to comment, that would be great. I know he has seen these because after that, that's the meeting that George Belcher was here himself. He asked me to send him and Mike the designs after that meeting. I did the very next day, so they've had them since November, I believe. Mr. Anderson, correct me if I am wrong.
And Mr. Joe, have we forwarded these to Mr. Morris's office as well?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
Sorry, I heard my name, but I was having some technical difficulties. I caught the tail end of your comment there, Ms. Morrow.
I was just saying that Mr. Belcher was here on that November meeting, and I forwarded the designs to you and him, so you have these in your possession, correct?
That is correct, and I was online earlier when Mr. Morris was speaking about moving forward with Haslet Parkway in tandem with the two separate bridge designs. So I made some notes here. We can advance that forward as you wish.
Okay, do anybody have any other questions? All right, then I'd like to make a motion directing Belcher and Associates to work with Kimley Horn, completed plans that will connect Haslet Parkway to FM 156. And to coordinate with TxDOT any remaining items needed to complete Haslet Parkway.
Motion is made to direct the city engineer to work with Kimley Horn to provide completed plans that will connect Haslet Parkway to FM 156, and directing the city engineer to coordinate with TxDOT for any remaining items needed to complete Haslet Parkway. Is there a second?
Yeah, before we second that motion, just for the record, I'd like to make note that Mr. Michael Morris with the North Central Texas Council of Governments is in favor of this particular item. So along those lines, I will make a second this motion.
Before that as well, I'd like to also add one thing. Could we please include that the city administrator be updated along with the city engineer, Belcher and Associates, in regards to these plans, so that way he's aware of the progress for everybody?
Yes, I'll make that amendment to my motion.
So the motion is as stated before, but with the city administrator being updated by the city engineer.
Yes, sir.
Does that, is that the full motion then?
Yes, sir.
All right, is there a second to that full motion?
Yes, Mayor, I'll second that.
There is a second. All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. G, reconsideration of ordinance 002-2026, amending the city's fiscal year 2025-2026 budget to transfer funds from the city's reserve fund to provide funding for the position of the Office of City Administrator. So who was it that requested this be on here tonight in lieu of the 6th of April?
Oh, so you requested it. I just thought since we're having a special meeting, we would take care of it tonight. So your item, sir, go ahead.
Mr. Page, you want to usher us through this reconsideration?
This is your reconsideration.
Yes.
I don't have any comments on it.
So, Mr. Page, what would be the right way to proceed with the motion on this if we don't want to consider the reconsideration?
It would simply be to approve ordinance 002-2026.
Mr. Page, hasn't this already been reconsidered and voted, or is it? No?
This is just for the budget amendment that was adopted about a month ago to fill the position of city administrator.
So this is your first consideration here. I mean, this is not a reconsideration of the reconsideration.
Yeah, This is the first and only reconsideration.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion that we do not reconsider ordinance 002-2026, as
All right.
stated.
Motion is made not to reconsider
And approve
002.
No, you gotta say approve.
Yeah, you're voting to approve it.
Okay, and approve.
Okay, your motion is to not reconsider ordinance 002-2026 and approve same ordinance.
Is that correct? Okay.
Is there a second?
Mayor Halsey, I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
It's unanimous. I have no need for executive session. 6 is mute. This meeting is adjourned at 9:01 p.m.
This conference is no longer being recorded.